In our last video, we talked briefly about shared workspaces, but we spent most of our time inside a personal workspace. This time, let's check out the shared workspaces and start designing our first Power BI app. To create a shared workspace, we need to click on the Workspaces tab on our side menu and find the yellow button at the bottom that says Create a Workspace. Once we click it, a new pane opens up in the right side of the screen where we can give the workspace a name and description and upload an image. I'll just upload a Power BI logo, then click Save and watch as Power BI creates us a shared workspace. The shared workspace is empty when we start, so we need to add some data to it. Let's start by doing a couple of uploads, just like we did in the personal workspace. We'll click Get Data, then go to Files, select Local File, and we'll upload the Global Economic Indicators PBIX file. When we go back to the workspace, now we can see the report and its data set. We'll also notice that the Power BI service automatically creates a dashboard with the same name as our report, but the dashboard is blank. We'll come back to that in a moment. Next, let's talk about how to publish a report directly from Power BI Desktop. We've got Power BI Desktop up already, and we've opened our personal finance report. Before we publish to the service, we need to make sure we're signed in with the correct account. In the top right corner of Power BI Desktop, we should see our username or email address. If we don't see that, we should see a Sign In button, which we can use. Once we've signed into the Power BI service, we can click the Publish button on the Home tab. At this point, a new window will appear that asks us which workspace in the Power BI service we want to publish to. In this case, we can see our personal workspace and the shared workspace we just created a few moments ago. I'm going to select the shared workspace. Once we get a success message from Power BI Desktop, we can go back to our browser and refresh the page, where we'll see our personal finance report has now been added to the shared workspace. If we go to the Dashboards tab, we'll notice one key difference between publishing from Power BI Desktop versus uploading PBIX files using the Get Data feature. Publishing from Power BI Desktop does not automatically create a blank dashboard. I find this preferable because it keeps your workspace from becoming cluttered with blank dashboards as you publish more reports. I only create a dashboard when I'm ready to start building one, but the Get Data feature just assumes you'll always want a dashboard when you upload a PBIX file. So I always try to publish my reports from Power BI Desktop. And don't worry, we're going to explore dashboards in one of our videos soon. We're going to add one more report to our workspace, but we're going to do it by creating a new report from one of our existing data sets. This is another feature of Power BI that can be very useful, so you can avoid creating multiple similar data models. Assuming you have multiple data models, each one gets refreshed on a separate schedule and has separate settings for things like security. By creating one data set used by multiple reports, you only have to maintain those settings and data refreshes on one data set, making it easier to administer your workspace. So how can we create a report from an existing data set? Well, we have two methods, and we'll show you the first one in this video and the second in our next video. For the first method, we'll open a brand new report in Power BI Desktop. From the Home tab, we click on the button labeled Power BI Datasets. Since we signed into the Power BI service earlier, before we published our personal finance report, we should already be connected, and a new window will appear that gives us a list of all the datasets that are currently published to the Power BI service, including what workspace each one belongs to and when it was last refreshed. When we select the Personal Finance Report dataset and click Create, Power BI Desktop is going to connect to that existing dataset in the Power BI service, and it's going to bring all of our tables and measures into Power BI Desktop. This way, we don't have to recreate everything from scratch. Our whole data model is already in the cloud, and Power BI Desktop can see it and use it. Now that we're connected to the data model, we're going to create a very simple one-page report with just a single chart on it. First, we'll add a slicer and put the year column on it, and then we'll select 2019. Next, we'll create a very simple ribbon chart using our data model. We'll put our month column on the axis, our category column in the legend section, and we'll put our expenses measure in the values section. Ribbon charts function a lot like area charts or column charts, except they automatically prioritize whichever category has the greatest amount in a given month. For instance, most of our months have this purple ribbon at the top position, which means it's the highest expense for that month. When we hover over, we see that this category is our mortgage payment. But when we look at June, we see a huge blue spike, which was the giant home remodeling payment we made. So suddenly blue is the dominant color for June, and then in July and onward, the purple ribbon takes over again. Ribbon charts are a really cool way to visualize amounts over time. And now that we've created our simple one-pager, let's click the Publish button. Power BI Desktop will ask if we want to save the PBIX file locally, and of course we'll say yes, and we'll call it personalfinance02.pbix. Then it'll ask us which workspace in the Power BI service we want to use, and we'll select our edX workspace. Once it publishes successfully, we return to our browser, where we see we have 3 reports now, but only 2 datasets. Stand by. Yep. Good. This is the beauty of shared datasets in Power BI. Create as many reports as you want, but keep fewer datasets around so you have less